I am Orlan. I am an artist. I work with my body.
The body is only a costume.
Peter loves working with artists. He gets very excited by the vision that some people have.
My name is Usama. I am a painter and a sculptor. My work are based on the reflective. Chikaはどんな感じになるかって。
In Yayoi's early work, there's a picture of her mother covered with dots, and it feels as if she's sort of gone with this pen and stuck these dots into her mother's image. And these dots later develop into these enormous, colourful polka dots. And her work is full of sort of obsessive elements. And I think there's a lot of similarity between those passionate feelings that don't get expressed that occur in both Japanese and British art.
We think of flowers as nature, and we think of gardens as being natural, but they're not, they're highly artificial. The body is a garden. Wax. Homo bula, man is but bubble.
I saw Helen Chadwick's show in the Serpentine Gallery in London, and it was very direct, and there's the chocolate fountain I loved, and these wreaths, which I thought were some of the most beautiful things I'd seen, made out of fruit and flowers and all sorts of things, but they are a beautiful series, and we ended up working with them quite a lot in Eve. Martha Ladley, who runs our design department, came in with some wonderful stuff from Cathy de Moncho, and she mixes these very contrasting elements of metal, machine-like elements that at first appear quite sort of tough and alienating, with these very soft, rich, sort of red leather, velvet, vulnerable, sensual, sexual elements.
I think sexual seduction is a place where you lose control of yourself and you're then reliant on another. You're letting another into your life or into your thinking or into your mind, and it becomes a very dangerous place.
The river is an important part of why we're here, why I'm here, because I love water and moving water. And we had the idea a number of years ago just to try and create some sort of event where people would light candles. A lot of people would gather, and then these candles would float down the stream to the river and so on, down to Bath and to the Avon and maybe even out to the sea. Nils took up the idea of the floating candles and made it very much his own. If you look in the Lonely Hearts columns of the newspapers, you find very revealing things where people are forced to sit down and in one or two lines try and describe who they are and put themselves over in such a way that they attract a potential mate.
We put these people in front of the camera and I thought they would be very shy, very frightened. But the minute one started talking to them, they just opened themselves up and they told you the most intimate things.
Feet, I'm afraid, have always been very important to me. And I've found over the years that the larger the foot size, the larger the shoe size, the happier the relationship.
I think I can be quite open to new experiences.
My ideal partner would be able to support me so I wouldn't have to work at all.
Some girlfriends have said to me they like my personality.
I don't know if my heart's ever been broken, I've been slightly cracked.
And I thought the least I could do if I was asking that of them was do the same thing myself. Although I often forget, I have learned that it's by changing yourself that you can change a relationship and not by changing the other person.
Working with Peter is great because he really doesn't mind sending himself up. He likes to have fun. He likes to fool around.
Shake it all around. Shake it all around.
Eve has taken an enormous amount of time to put together. It's been a 2-year project. And part of the reason for that was that we really wanted to try and get some depth.
The 120 or 130 screens of Eve were assembled out of 22,000 photographs that were shot all across the United Kingdom and some in Europe.
We wanted the screen to be able to scroll up and down, and we wanted to be able to control the rate at which it scrolled. We wanted our graphics to look as smooth as possible, and so we had to have anti-aliasing around the edges, and we had to support transparency, and we wanted them to be able to shrink and expand so that we could simulate motion in 3 space.
There's something like 80 minutes of original video, and I would think something like 45 minutes of music.
Problem with the authoring environment is you can't have direct control over the technology. You can't speed up your graphics, you can't compress your audio in a new way. At least it makes it very difficult to do that sort of thing. So what we did was we sort of made the whole 9 yards. We made a custom system from scratch in C++ and assembly that also lets you author on top of it. And by authoring, I mean we can spin off the portions of the product where you specify what happens when. So when this image of Peter moves across here to the lawnmower, this happens, that sort of thing.
Obviously, Adam and Eve are metaphors for the relationship, for all relationships. And I think the person playing Eve will become involved in this because they've actually got to help Adam, who sometimes turns into Peter, and then turns back into Adam again. They've got to help this wanderer to find his mate.
You start off in the Garden of Eden whole, so that the old mythology that male and female were both together inside one body, they get separated, and then the search begins to try and reunite. The main drive is to find your other half, to merge back into the whole, and through that you realize paradise for a second time.